Some crime reports are so heinous that they can instantly make you feel sick to your stomach. The details of these crimes can be so disturbing that they leave you feeling nauseous and wondering how someone could commit such atrocities. The minds of these individuals are difficult to comprehend, and it's hard to understand how they can carry out such despicable acts. The crimes committed by sex offenders are particularly disturbing, and the title of sex offender is a label that they must bear for the rest of their lives. In addition to facing sentencing, they are also required to register as sex offenders, which can have long-lasting consequences for their personal and professional lives. However, for the families and loved ones of the victims, the pain and trauma caused by these crimes can be unbearable. The story of Cherish Perrywinkle is a chilling example of this. You don't want to miss the chronological progression of events before she was abducted, while she was kidnapped, what led to her death, and the aftermath of the crime committed by the sex offender. So stay tuned and don't touch that dial. Welcome to Detective Jeffery Crime Station. We're thrilled to have you on board and grateful for your subscription and viewership. We're committed to delivering captivating, compelling, and informative content that entertains and enlightens. Your support means everything, and we'll continuously improve to meet your tastes and preferences. We're dedicated to creating a respectful and passionate community, and we look forward to sharing high-quality true crime content with you. On Christmas Eve 2004, a baby girl named Cherish Lily Perrywinkle came into the world in Jacksonville, Florida. Her parents, Rain Perrywinkle and Billy Giroux, were not the picture-perfect couple. They were never married, and their relationship was riddled with struggles, often fighting over custody. Despite the turmoil, Cherish grew up as a bright, bubbly little girl who adored her two younger sisters and brought light to those around her. But on the warm summer evening of June 21st, 2013, the Perrywinkle family's world would be shattered beyond repair. That evening, Rain, struggling financially, decided to take her three daughters to a Dollar General store. As they browsed the aisles, a man approached them. His name was Donald Smith, a seemingly kind, older gentleman who struck up a friendly conversation. He claimed he had a $150 Walmart gift card and offered to help Rain buy clothes and other items for her daughters. Rain hesitated, but her desire to provide for her girls outweighed her doubts. Smith's grandfatherly demeanor seemed genuine, and so they accepted his offer. The family climbed into Smith's white van and headed to Walmart. Once inside, Smith played the part of a generous benefactor, walking alongside Rain and the girls as they filled their cart with items they could never afford on their own. For 2 hours, he laughed and smiled, easing Rain's nerves with small reassurances. But as the night dragged on, a gnawing sense of unease began to creep into her mind. Something about Smith felt off. He seemed overly attentive to Cherish. At one point, he suggested she try on a pair of towering women's high heels, shoes far too mature for an 8-year-old. Rain firmly said no. She brushed off the discomfort, convincing herself that maybe she was being paranoid. After all, Smith kept telling her they were safe. As the clock ticked past 10 p.m., the girls grew hungry. Smith volunteered to grab cheeseburgers from the McDonald's inside the store. When Cherish eagerly followed him, Rain hesitated for a moment, but then let her go. It was a small walk, and McDonald's was just within sight. What harm could come from this? But minutes turned to an eternity. Cherish didn't come back. Rain's stomach dropped as panic took hold. She frantically searched the store, calling out her daughter's name. She couldn't see her anywhere. Then, like a lightning bolt, it hit her. Donald Smith and Cherish were gone. The fear clawed at her throat as she begged the store employees and bystanders for help. "Call 911, she pleaded. "My daughter's been taken." But the response was sluggish, dismissive even. Every second felt like a dagger as Rain's cries echoed in the night. When she finally made the 911 call herself, her voice trembled with desperation. He knew when the store was closing. "I had a bad feeling about it. I don't want him to kill her. I don't want to be one of those parents who go through this." Hours passed before an Amber Alert was issued. Hours that Cherish didn't have. As police launched their investigation, Donald Smith quickly became the prime suspect. His white van was a chilling piece of evidence, as was his criminal history. He was no kind stranger. Smith was a predator, a man with a record of violent crimes who had been released from prison just weeks earlier. By the next morning, the unthinkable became reality. Cherish's lifeless body was found in a wooded area near a church. The innocence and light that defined her life were extinguished by a man whose cruelty knew no bounds. The trial of Donald Smith revealed horrific details that no family should ever have to endure. The grief and anger in the courtroom were palpable, but for Rain, it was a nightmare she would relive forever. Every parent's worst fear had become her reality. Cherish's body was found with evidence of rape, smothering, and blunt force trauma to the back of her head. The details of her death are too horrific to imagine, and the pain and suffering that she endured are unimaginable. Smith, a registered sex offender, had a long history of preying on children, dating back to the 1970s. He had only been out of prison for 3 weeks before he committed the crime, and his actions were calculated and deliberate. The state's attorney, Mark Nelson, told jurors that Smith strangled Cherish so roughly that her eyes began to bleed. Cherish did not die quickly, and she did not die easily. In fact, hers was a brutal and tortured death. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecution began their opening statements, laying out the disturbing details of Cherish Perrywinkle's death. The air was thick with emotion as State Attorney Melissa Nelson described the brutal kidnapping, rape, and strangulation of the 8-year-old girl. The jurors' eyes widened in horror as they listened to the graphic description of Cherish's final hours, their faces etched with a mix of shock, sadness, and anger. As the prosecution presented their case, the defense urged the jurors to remain objective, focusing on the law rather than emotion, retribution, or revenge. Attorney Julie Schlax reminded the jurors that the state bore the burden of proof, and it was their duty to ensure that the evidence presented met the required standards. The jurors' reactions were palpable as they viewed the disturbing photos of Cherish's mutilated body. Some turned away, unable to bear the sight, while others wiped away tears or buried their faces in their hands. The emotional toll of the trial was evident, and it was clear that the jurors were deeply affected by the evidence presented. The trial of Donald James Smith, accused of Cherish's kidnapping, rape, and murder, was a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences of violent crime. The prosecution's opening statement set the tone for the trial, painting a vivid picture of the events leading up to Cherish's tragic death. Cherish Perrywinkle was 8 years old. State Attorney Melissa Nelson said, her voice filled with emotion. She weighed 67 pounds, separated from her mother, from her little sisters, from all she knew what was safe in this world. She spent the last petrifying hours of her life with him. The state's case against Smith was strong, and the prosecution presented evidence that showed the brutality and cruelty of the crime. The evidence against Smith was overwhelming, and the defense did not call any witnesses. The state wrapped up its case, and the jury was left to deliberate on the fate of the accused. In a disturbing twist, it was revealed that Smith had been caught on tape talking with another inmate while in jail. He said, "I sure would like to meet those girls at the Walmart." He also stated that 12 to 13-year-old girls were his target, showing a clear pattern of predatory behavior. The defense, on the other hand, cautioned the jurors against allowing emotions to cloud their judgment. Good morning. We are here in this courtroom because the state of Florida is seeking the death penalty, and you have just heard an emotionally charged opening statement designed to anger you, Schlax said. What we are asking you to do as Americans in this country is to ask the state of Florida to live up to the burdens of proof, because they shared alone. As the trial progressed, the prosecution presented a series of witnesses, each providing a piece of the puzzle that ultimately led to Cherish's tragic death. The witnesses included a couple who had interacted with Smith in the Walmart parking lot, a police officer who had pulled him over, and a crime scene analyst who had examined the debris found on Cherish's body. The prosecution also called Cherish's mother to testify, providing a heart-wrenching account of the events leading up to her daughter's disappearance. Throughout the trial, the jurors remained attentive, their faces a reflection of the gravity of the case before them. As they listened to the testimony and viewed the evidence, they were reminded of the devastating consequences of violent crime and the importance of upholding justice. The trial of Donald James Smith was a sobering reminder of the darkest aspects of human nature and the need for accountability and justice in the face of such heinous crimes. Donald Smith, now 61, was found guilty of a heinous crime, which shocked the community and left a lasting impact on the family and loved ones of the young victim. The case against Smith was built on the evidence of his crimes, and the prosecution presented a strong case against him. The jury was convinced of his guilt, and he was found guilty of the murder of Cherish Perrywinkle. The verdict brought closure to the family and loved ones of the young victim, but it will never bring back the life that was lost. The story of Cherish Perrywinkle is a tragic reminder of the dangers that exist in our world and the importance of being vigilant and protective of our children. It is a story that will haunt us for years to come, and it serves as a reminder of the need for justice and accountability for those who commit such heinous crimes. The words of Mark Nelson, Cherish did not die quickly, and she did not die easily. In fact, hers was a brutal and tortured death, will stay with us forever, a reminder of the brutality and cruelty of the crime that was committed against this innocent child. Cherish's story is one of innocence betrayed and a system that failed to protect her. It's a heartbreaking reminder of the evil that exists in the world and the devastating impact it can have on the most vulnerable among us. Cherish Perrywinkle's life. The impact of these crimes on the families and communities affected by them cannot be overstated. The trauma and pain caused by these acts can be long-lasting, and it's essential that we work to prevent such crimes from occurring in the first place. This requires a multifaceted approach that includes education, awareness, and support for victims and their families, as well as efforts to hold perpetrators accountable for their actions. Ultimately, the goal should be to create a society where such heinous crimes are never committed and where all individuals can feel safe and protected. Until that day, it's essential that we continue to work towards justice and healing for those affected by these crimes. We hope you enjoyed the video and learned something new. Because you did, subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to show your appreciation. Additionally, tap the notification bell to be kept abreast of our latest videos and ensure you don't miss out on any new content. This will keep you informed about our upcoming true crime stories and allow you to stay engaged with our community. Thank you once again. Your support means a lot to us.